Hey everyone, welcome to Four Eyes. I'm Zane.
And I'm Nate.
And today we're going to be talking about the NCAA March Madness. And we're going to start off with our predictions that we had, taking it all, and kind of like the interesting picks or upsets we had. Nate?
Before I get into what my final was, but I want to address some of the upsets that I saw, or at least predicted. One big one was Liberty over Mississippi State, and Zane, I don't know if you had that one. You had that one. I think that was one of the most common picks for an upset, given just the overall. And the seeding was 12-5. It was a 12-5 matchup, but you look at record and who they're facing in their league, it's pretty clear to see. Do you know why you picked Liberty, or was that just a guess out of the book there?
I haven't really been keeping up with college, like that particular college lately. So I think that one for me was just kind of like a guess, kind of just like a shot in the water where I'm just like picking a team. I didn't really go in depth with picking Liberty, but did they end up winning? I don't know if they ended up winning.
Well, Liberty won their first game, and then they lost to Virginia Tech. Or no, that's what I had.
They ended up losing to, who was it?
So many games. I think Virginia Tech won that, and then Duke beat Virginia Tech. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I see you had Duke as your.
Well, here before I don't wanna jump the gun yet. Some other ones.
Oh yeah, okay.
Obviously, like as a KU fan,
you had Kansas going to the elite or to the Sweet 16.
I don't know why I filled out Kansas over Auburn, but.
Yeah.
It would have been smart to do the other way. Auburn is the harder fan, or not harder fan. Our better playing team. There wasn't any
not too many big
upsets that I picked. Big
upsets, but
dude, let's look at your bracket. Let's see what you had.
I think I had North. Who was that? Auburn losing to New Mexico State.
You had Belmont over Maryland. So Belmont being Temple and then over Maryland. So 11-6 there. Minnesota over Louisville. Yeah. Why that?
Minnesota ended up winning. I don't know. I just felt like also a guess. I wasn't really keeping up with colleges that much, but I could just you just know when there's going to be an upset. I was just hoping for an upset for that, and I ended up getting it. So
Arizona State over Buffalo. Buffalo did pretty well.
Yeah, I think.
And you look at the record, 31-3. It's pretty impressive for a 6 seed.
And then I had New Mexico State.
You had Northern Kentucky over Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, really?
Yeah, you had.
They ended up going to the final.
And they went to the final. To the final match.
Yeah. I had the Auburn, New Mexico State.
You had Seton Hall over Wofford.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. Okay.
Which was.
And then I had them losing to Kentucky the next round, but.
New Mexico State over Auburn.
Yeah, that was. I don't really know too much about Auburn, which is like why I chose probably that upset.
Well, you don't really. When you think of Auburn, you don't really think basketball team.
Yeah.
I mean, I immediately credit them with football. Yeah, that's. You predicted the UC Irvine upset.
I did.
Yeah, you got that one.
And then they ended up losing to Oregon. Yeah, okay, so I got that prediction right.
So let's move on a little bit. Those are kind of early rounds. Let's look at Final Four, Elite Eight. We both had Duke going to the Final Four. You had Florida State, and I had Michigan for the one. Florida State was what? Florida State was a 4 seed.
I just thought that there might have been just a team out there that we weren't expecting, like Texas Tech, for instance. We weren't expecting them to go to the final match. I was just thinking one of those teams, and one of those teams I just thought Florida State.
And I find it funny while people pick Gonzaga to go pretty far along the way, just about every year.
Yeah.
Well, at least in the past few years. But yeah, they're 30-3, but you got to look at who they're playing in their division.
Mhm.
That's a big key thing when filling out brackets. It's going to
Yeah.
help you.
Definitely.
If you're in a pool, like we filled out, it's going to help you. There's that. On the other side of the spectrum, both had Virginia.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty obvious.
I actually had Virginia winning, and then I erased my answer to Kentucky.
Yeah. And you had Kentucky down low. You had Kentucky winning over North Carolina. I had it the opposite way around. Do you?
Really?
Um,
I just felt like I thought UNC was eventually. I didn't think they were going to take it all, but I felt like eventually they were going to get.
I feel like if anybody was going to take down Duke, it was going to be North Carolina.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't expecting. I mean, I could kind of tell a little bit. I don't want to get like too into it right now.
Yeah.
I just want to. But like I knew Duke was going to end up losing, just based on how they were playing. But
And so
I'm not gonna get too into it.
I had Duke over Michigan. You had Florida State over Duke.
Yeah.
And then you had Kentucky over Virginia. I had North Carolina over Virginia. And so you had your final was Florida State, Kentucky, and you picked Kentucky. What was the big thing there in deciding that?
I think picking Kentucky. Well, at first I thought Virginia, and then I erased it, and I was like, nah, Kentucky. I think it was just a matter of. I feel like they're. What seed were they? I don't even know what seed was.
Who?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Oh, they were like a 2 or something.
I felt like they were just gonna be like that like high tier team
Yeah,
that would end up upsetting the number 1 seed.
Now those 2 seeds are always fun to look out for.
Yeah.
Even though it's just the
come out
seed
of
difference and it might be a game or 2 in the record there.
That's just kind of how I seen Kentucky winning.
Yeah, they're always good contenders
Uh-huh.
and fun to watch. I'd say the 3 through 4 or 5, those are always the best teams to
yeah.
watch. I mean, that especially applied in what we have this year. You had Texas Tech and Auburn. Michigan
5.
State was a 2, so I won't really count that. But Texas Tech and Auburn, both really fun teams to watch, and they still made it along the way, pretty far along the way, even though they weren't they didn't make it all the way. But
Yeah.
you know,
I know what you mean,
I mean, I had Duke.
Yeah, why is I feel like I think that
I
was
feel like most
overrated.
people, it's just one name, Zion Williamson.
Yeah, I think it really.
And I don't know
like,
that Michigan State game was interesting to watch. I'm watching it and I'm like, wow. And even though you really look and you look at the matchup and you see or just like the teams and how people have ranked them, you're like, oh, Duke's gonna win this.
Yeah.
It's not even gonna be close.
Yeah, it was.
And then you start looking at the nitty gritty. I mean, Michigan State's 28-6. Duke is 29-5. It's a game difference. You look at players and different skills strengths for the team, and they are about as close as a competition as you can get.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like Duke was more of like an overrated decision for now.
I wouldn't say overrated.
It's just
just not as.
It was
They were somewhat overrated. They weren't like really overrated. Like
I feel like they were just like too overhyped going into March Madness.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I think that's.
They didn't perform as well as they did in like the regular season. You know how they.
You kind of get that chip on your shoulder, thinking you're gonna do well, and then
I mean, they were just like blowing out these teams, and maybe it's just because of the competition, like the division you were saying. Maybe that's just what.
Well, I don't really think that applies to that division.
Because I mean, they've like literally blown out.
The East is like. Oh.
I mean, if you look at their schedule, they've definitely.
Duke is in the Big 12, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and Michigan State, I'm not sure. They're not in the Big. They're not in the Big 12. I don't know. There's so many divisions.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's a topic for another day. But let's look at upsets. So we had some big upsets, and I want to look at if we predicted any of them. The first one right out of the gate that I want to mention is Murray State over Marquette, which is a 12 over a 5. So again, a pretty big one. I had this one coming out of the gate. Zane, you had Marquette. Why do you think Murray State was able to come out atop in this?
I completely forgot about John Morant. So
Yeah.
if I had known prior to me filling out the bracket, I probably would have picked Murray State.
Yeah.
But I just completely forgot about John Morant.
Yeah.
So
Another somewhat big one, an Ohio State over Iowa State.
I think I had Ohio State on that one.
Let's see. Ooh,
You had
goodness.
Iowa State.
I had Iowa State, and it was Ohio State that won. Let's see. You had Ohio State.
Why is it that you thought Iowa State would take it?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Is
just
it
looking at
the seeding
seeding and record, it wasn't even close, really.
What was the seeding?
Well, the seeding it was 11-6.
Oh, 11-6.
But so it wasn't really close, but it was just the main record and stuff, and seeing the teams. I feel like actually seeing the teams play against Kansas and stuff. I just felt like Iowa State was gonna take it.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah. Next,
we had Liberty over Mississippi State, which was one we already covered.
Yeah, we covered that.
You and I both had Liberty for that. I think that was a pretty widely picked upset. Oregon over Wisconsin. That was a big one. That was a 12-5. I had Wisconsin. Let's see what you had.
Oregon.
You had Oregon. And seeding, it's a 5-12. Records.
I don't think Oregon should have gotten a 12 seed though. I feel like that.
I know because when you look at it, I mean, Wisconsin's a 23-10, and Oregon's 23-12. So just
that 2-game difference.
Game difference. It means a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and that can change your seeding, change your play. A single game throughout the regular season, although it may not seem like much, it impacts a lot.
Yeah.
And once you look at the bigger picture, UC Irvine over Kansas State. I had Kansas State. You predicted UC Irvine.
Yes.
I'm probably going to Kansas State, so I'm not going to talk about this one. I'm going to leave it over to you. Why'd you pick that one? So I'm kind of biased on this.
I think for me it was a little bit more biased too because I used to live near the UC Irvine area, so I picked UC Irvine because that's where my grandpa lives, and that's actually where I went whenever I went on that vacation. So it was exciting to see them because I was actually in Irvine whenever I saw them win. So.
And this one was barely a difference.
And that was their first game.
Yeah.
In March Madness. That was their first ever win in March Madness,
yeah.
Which was also huge.
And then one that wasn't as big of an upset, but I feel like really busted a lot of brackets, was Iowa over Cincinnati. Cincinnati, a lot of people had them going. I didn't have them going super far, but let me see.
Iowa won. Where are they at?
Oh goodness.
That's a lot of teams. You had Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Tennessee. Yeah.
Oh, right there. Yeah. I had Cincinnati because I saw them losing to Tennessee, which really strong team this year.
Yeah, Tennessee.
And that's one of the few that would take them out. But for considering the fact that they're a 7 seed, they were probably the strongest 7 seed in the game. Probably stronger than even some 6 and 5 seeds.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that. You what did you have? You had Iowa. You had a lot of these upsets.
Yeah, I ended up actually predicting, which was actually really surprising. I was quite surprised on the amount of upsets I predicted.
Just help getting off to a good start, but
it
really all depends on the long games when you're doing pools and stuff.
Yeah, it ended up crashing.
So
towards Sweet 16.
Yeah. We already covered the well, sort of. We had the game Auburn over North Carolina, which was, let's pull it up. Auburn won 97-80. It was a 17-point difference. That was for 5 over 1 seed. That wasn't expected.
I was not expecting to be losing by 17. I honestly thought because Kobe White on UNC.
Yeah.
He's a freshman, and I thought he was gonna.
Isn't he one and doneing it this year?
Yeah, he declared for the draft this year.
I wanna I want to get to that, the one and dones.
Mhm.
That's one thing I'd like to discuss because I'm not the biggest fan of it, but well, I want to get your opinion on that and stuff. Another really big, again, Cinderella story with the you had the Auburn. Other side, you had Texas Tech.
And they
My
never-
boy Pat Mahomes was an alum from there. That was, let's see, Texas Tech over Gonzaga. It was a 6-point game, so a lot closer.
Yeah, definitely wasn't
but
a 17 game.
it was a big bracket buster, surprising game.
I think it's
why do you think Texas Tech was able to come out? Because I was, a lot of us were just baffled.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said, I think it's just like a lot of people always have Gonzaga going far into March Madness, but I think it's just one of those episodes where
I again, like I discussed this earlier, like with Gonzaga, it's where record matters a lot. With record's gonna determine your seeding. But if you got, say, like Gonzaga was like what they were 30-3.
Yeah.
You got to look at who they were playing throughout the regular season.
Yeah, this is kind of how
Yeah.
Duke was as well. Like they weren't really playing that many high tier teams. I mean, they did. They played North Carolina.
They played, yeah.
But I mean, there's also those other teams that are just kind of like out the way. I mean, the Duke had a chance of going like almost undefeated, just based on the teams they were playing. I mean, they were blown on teams by like 60
I think they had the
points.
potential to do it. They
with
actually
that
came
Zion
up a lot
injury.
shorter, but 29-5. 29-5. Let's go to Final Four matchups. So we have right here, or actually, no, never mind. Let's talk about what happened to Duke.
Yeah, you just want to go straight into Duke.
So, yeah, just have straight into Duke. Zion Williamson, what you got on him?
I think I kind of knew what was like expected first like out the gate with the first game of March Madness. We all saw that one. It was a blowout.
Yeah.
But then come the second game with him and Taco Fall. Obviously, Taco Fall was like, what, 7'6" or something like that?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, he's tall.
a monster.
But I didn't expect Zion to. I mean, he obviously he had like a 30-point. He had 37 points. I think he did good overall as him for him personally. I feel like he did good in terms of just the pressure and everything of winning the championship or trying to win the championship. But I think it just all comes down to Duke as a whole.
Yeah, and really,
Because
Zion was carrying the team.
Because RJ Barrett.
Would you agree with me if I said Zion was carrying? I
I
wouldn't say like the entire team. He had some good support with him, but when you're relying on guys like that for majority of your scoring, majority of your defense, stuff like that, it wears them out, and it's not good on players like that. And when you're playing so much and doing things like this, it's a lot of stress.
Zion hasn't utilized that three yet. I think that he also needs. There's also going to need those 3-point shooters because Zion can't do everything.
Yeah, no.
You know, I mean he could. I mean obviously he could dunk. He could play make a little bit, but
I think
when it comes down to free throws or just shooting in general, I feel like that's just kind of
And his current situation is very comparable to what LeBron James is in right now.
Yeah.
With not somewhat, not to like, but.
Yeah.
You get what I mean.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
The loss to Michigan State, that was real disheartening. That was the last thing I was.
It was very emotional for Duke players, but I was gonna get into it earlier, but I wanted to get into it now. I kind of saw it coming because if you saw, they almost lost to UCF. That was almost a heartbreaker with that last possession. Then there was was it Virginia Tech? I think it was Virginia Tech.
Let's take a look. Virginia Tech.
Yeah, because you had Virginia Tech. So I think they also almost losing to Virginia Tech. I think I just knew it was just coming to an end because obviously if you can't really do much going against these lower tier teams, I feel like it's just gonna come to an end. Obviously that's what happened to Michigan State and Duke. Let's
go over to we already covered the North Carolina loss to Auburn, so let's go into Final Four. Auburn, Virginia. Did we already discuss that?
Yeah, I think we've already discussed. I think.
What about the?
the last
Texas.
possession of the free throw. Remember that free throw?
Yeah, that was a big one. I didn't see it in personal, but I watched a few recaps of it.
Do you think it was a foul?
It's a tough call. It's a very tough call. Yeah, it's a judgment call in that case. I wouldn't want to be in the referee's position in that one because I feel like either way, whichever one you're going to call it, you're going to get the same amount of heat from the fans,
definitely.
from
Virginia
the players
fans
and stuff.
or Auburn fans,
Yeah.
if it would have went either way.
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was a foul either.
I think.
I mean,
yeah, I think it was. It's just. It's such a judgment call. That's the problem.
That was a really tough call. I'm not gonna lie. That was.
And.
I was looking. I had to look at it a few times. And I still don't know if that was a foul or not.
You gotta think the judge has, or not the judge, the ref has one chance to get that right, and it happens like that. Yeah. So.
Do I think it was a foul? Personally, probably not. But in terms of like the heat of the moment and just seeing it as a ref standpoint, probably I would have called it.
Yeah, I think that I think he made the right decision. In the point, when you look back on it, hey, it may not have been the right decision, but
in his position at that moment in time,
you gotta give him some. What's the word? You gotta give him some credit. But the final we had Texas Tech, Virginia, and going into the final, this is what I predicted, or the Final Four. My bad. This is what I predicted the matchup would be, and I was actually pretty darn close. I had it 80-73. Virginia over Texas Tech.
Yeah, Virginia looked lethal. I didn't think Texas Tech was gonna
but it was 85-77. I thought this was going to be a really low-scoring game. I thought this was going to be strong defense. Like, maybe you're pushing 50 points, or not pushing 50, roughly around 50 points, maybe closer to, like, the Houston-Kentucky game earlier, which is, like, 62-58. I think that was more along the lines of what I thought it was going to be. Why do you think it was so high scoring, though?
They did go into the OT. I don't know what score it was before. Let's see. It was, what is that? I mean, they didn't, what is it? It's like 50, or 60, 68. It was 68 to...
Yeah. 68
to 50
well, 68-68.
Yeah, 68.
Tied going in overtime.
I mean, I mean, it was, I don't know. It's tough to say. Obviously, like going back to what you said, they're both going. You expect them to go at it on defense. But I wasn't expecting it to be a high scoring game either. At least to 85 points. I wasn't expecting Virginia to come out and score 85 points. Definitely.
No. And they once it was in overtime, it was. I mean, you look at the overtime matchup. Tech had 9, Cavs had 17. It wasn't even close after that. And do you think that was like a hype thing or what? What like?
Hype isn't like in terms of this game.
Yeah, or in terms of once going into overtime, why do you think Virginia was able to come out on top?
I think it was just a momentum change for them.
Momentum change?
Yeah, I think.
Do you think it was a change in mentality or like,
I feel
hey,
like,
this is the last shot we got.
I feel like
we've got this another shot, we take it, we win the game.
I feel like I feel like they kind of had the mentality where like if we're wanting to win this, we got to do it now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just gonna go
and going on and on and on and on. So and those games are fun to watch, but they're also really tough on the players to play.
Yeah.
And all right. Is there anything? Oh yeah. Almost forgot.
The one and done.
One and dones. How do you feel about them?
I feel like I don't know, because I don't want to like. How do you feel about it? Because I feel like I can object to it.
Growing up a KU fan, seeing a lot of one and dones, and I personally don't like them. I like
Than
hey,
staying in college.
you're there for college to not just to get the experience as an athlete, but you need to be there for school. Just going off into the game.
Well, I know they've had a discussion of them like taking out the one and done and just entering the draft out of high school again because of just Zion.
I don't.
I know.
I feel like there needs to be some like qualifications that the athlete needs to meet to be able to do a one and done, or even what you just said. Like otherwise,
Because then it's just kind
a
of
lot
like
of guys are going to be doing one and dones, and that's no. It takes
that could have been someone else. You know that.
And for someone who only really watches basketball around this time of the year, because I'm not a big NBA fan, super teams and all that crap, but it's just seeing them just go off and you don't really get to enjoy the athlete that they are.
Because more people, some people might like you said, some people might like NCAA better than the NBA because of like the super teams and everything.
Look at. All sports are kind of like this in a way. It's just really bad with the NBA. Like you have a lot of guys going into the MLB draft, and with the MLB draft is a total like crapshoot. It's just you gotta hope these guys are gonna be good when they approach the bigs in a few years.
Yeah.
But they're coming. Most are coming out of college. There's a few that come out of high school.
Uh-huh.
Most are going into college, and most have been there for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And NFL, that's I feel like it's pretty similar there.
In terms of like staying longer.
Yeah,
like Trevor Lawrence, for instance. Obviously, he's staying another year with Clemson. He's only a freshman, right? Or
I have no idea. Good for him.
So he's just kind of getting that.
Yeah, but and then like NHL, I don't know much about the NHL,
I don't know.
I'm not one to talk on that. But I guess anything else you'd like to cover before we cut out?
I think we've covered everything.
Covered everything?
I'm good, unless you want to cover something else.
No, I think we've covered what we need to.
All right. Well.
All right. I'm Nate.
I'm Zane.
And this is For Ice. Thank you guys for listening.